We have seen a ton of stuff about GLP-1s lately. One camp that are basically saying like, hey, whatever tool's necessary. And then there's another camp that's very verbal about like, hey, you're going to lose muscle. You can't fix these things. Where is the answer actually lying?
The things I do like about the GLP is it makes it easy to do more extreme forms of dieting. I get guys that lose 25, 30 pounds in less than 8 weeks. I mean, all the research is pretty clear. Faster is better. If you can do it really fast and safe, people tend to be more compliant. They tend to go the long run and they tend to not put as much weight on at the end of it. So the fastest thing I've found is that protein leverage diet.
Thinking about the coach that just got that person that is on a GLP-1, what does that training structure look like for that client now that they have just turned that on? So speaking of, we'll say, missing the delivery of it all, we have seen a shit ton of stuff about GLP-1s lately. There's one camp, that are basically saying like, hey, whatever tool's necessary, let's go ahead and use these tools and utilize them. And then there's another camp that's, I don't know what's accurate, what's not, but they are very verbal about like, hey, you're going to lose muscle. You're going to do all these things to your body that are like, you can't fix these things. Where is the answer actually lying?
I like them. I think they're great. Like I've not done them. I tried a little bit this week just to say I'd done it, and it definitely cuts down the food noise. So I'm still a little bit hungry, but I don't want junk. So I think they're great. I think if use them for what they're supposed to be used for, understand the risks and understand the caveats with the wasting muscle, which is what mine was just about. There's a couple of things we can do to ensure that you don't lose a lot of muscle. And one of those is increase protein intake, because people tend to not eat enough protein, full stop. It's not uncommon. Like we get women that come in to do training and we go, okay, let's do a nutritional analysis. They're eating like 40 to 60 grams of protein. I think that's enough. I'm like, this is not enough. If you were sedentary, that would be fine. You wouldn't be fine, but it would probably be adequate enough. But if you're going to train and you want to perform and you want to do all this, you want to build some muscle, it's less than half of what you probably need for this. So increasing protein, which is hard when you're in a position where you're taking something that is basically appetite suppressant in a syringe, but you just have to triage it. You have to go, okay, that is the most important thing. I have to plan for my protein first, and then everything else comes kind of secondarily to that. So that's the internal switch that we need to then prevent muscles from breaking down, and also when we train to give the prime building blocks to then build the muscle back. And then the second part of this is how we train, because you say we need to exercise, and a lot of doctors go, okay, you need to eat right and exercise. What the fuck does that mean? Like do dance in my underwear to videos online? Like what do you mean? Like that is not, it's not specific enough. When we're on a drug that suppresses appetite and we don't have a lot of food coming in and we're in a big deficit, you have to triage the most important thing. What is the most optimal thing, which is going to be resistance training. But then again, that opens another Pandora's box, because that could be a lot of different things. But the one thing we do know is tension based. It's basically just brotastic bodybuilding shit. Just low volume, apply tension, lots of protein, you won't lose muscle.
So you just mentioned what it's safe to say like a general practitioner might say those things, right? I'm pretty sure a lot of people that have been struggling with their weight have heard that. They've heard that from everybody. But on the coaching side, again, if somebody's watching this, can they go too hard? The opposite. Again, I know it's going to be like client dependent, but again, thinking about the person that has been introduced to GLP-1s, the person that just got told, hey, you probably should move more and eat better. Can they be too hyper specific when coaching somebody in that situation?
I don't think so. I actually don't think so, as long as they understand what they're doing, right? Because the thing is, like, if you look in the training, you never know what you're going to do. The fitness industry right now, it's like a third world country. You got a very small percentage of people who actually know what they're doing, and then you got everybody else. Right. And so people will if you go to anybody else and they don't understand what tension does, what's biochemically, physiologically, how to apply that, then you don't know what they're going to give them. And all exercise is obviously good for what it's intended to do, but it doesn't mean it's good in certain situations. So for an example, if you're taking GLP drug and you have low energy availability because it's crushing your appetite, It's like, you're going to be fatigued. The last thing you want to do, you're going to have no motivation. The last thing you want to do is go to the gym, absolutely throttle yourself, doing CrossFit and high rocks and high rep shit and tons of cardio. This is why one of the things I do like about the GLP is it makes it easy to do more extreme forms of dieting, which what I like is a protein leverage diet, which is really high protein and low energy from carbs and fats. You do that. I get guys that lose 25, 30 pounds in less than 8 weeks with no muscle loss. We just crank the protein up, but they also have to have a coming to Jesus talk with themselves, because a lot of those guys want to train. They're addicted to training. Like everybody in the fitness industry, we all have mommy daddy problems. And we won't actually go and get therapy. So the gym is my therapy. It's not therapy. So it's like, is it talking them into getting rid of this addiction and saying we're leaning on nutrition now, not training? We'll go back to leaning on training when it's time to add more calories back in. Mm-hmm. But we're talking about extreme fat loss, which I think all the research is pretty clear. Faster is better. If you can do it really fast and safe, people tend to be more compliant. They tend to go the long run, and they tend to not put as much weight on at the end of it when they resume normal eating. So it's like, if we can do it faster and it's safe, that's a good thing. And so the fastest thing I've found is that protein leverage diet with low volume, high tension bodybuilder stuff, machine work, cable, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Let's get into a little bit of the X's and O's of a protein leveraging diet. Maybe somebody for the first time, again, maybe that's the first time they've heard that. I'm a big fan of it as well, because I feel like you can really eat. Like, you can eat up a lot, right? Because it's hard to essentially overeat protein. Although, again, arguments are all over the online. Let's just, calories in, calories out, whatever. But for somebody that is being introduced, like a new client is just being introduced to protein leveraging, where do they start? Is it I guess, like, what's the ratio there? Because like a strict keto is like 4-to-1, right? Four fat to 1 protein. Is there like a sweet spot for protein leveraging?
Yeah, and that's the thing with keto, right? In a sedentary keto diet, 4-to-1. Like, there's 3 things you need for. Because I need to separate these, because there's a difference between keto during a sedentary person versus somebody who trains. So if you're sedentary, you need low carb, high fat, and you need low to moderate protein. But training changes a lot of things, because you can inherently eat more carbs if you have a sufficient training volume, and you can also eat less fat, because if your deficit is big enough, you'll be making ketones. And if you have measurable ketones, you are technically in ketogenesis. It's not a strict traditional way of doing it. But again, they don't really dictate traditional ones while adding activity to it as well. Like, I've even had times where I was eating 350 grams of protein, 250 grams of carbs, and no fat, and I was still in ketosis. But I was also training like 12 to 15 hours a week between jiu-jitsu and lifting, right? So a protein sparing modified fast or modified PSMF protein leverage is inherently a ketogenic diet, but it defies those 3 things, because you are eating low fat. That defies it. You're eating low carb, so that's 1 out of 3, but you're eating extremely high protein, which, yes, is going to inhibit some ketone production, but it's not going to inhibit all of it. And where are you getting those ketones? Mostly you're getting it from fat, which is the point. We're trying to utilize an inefficient way of getting energy to rip fat off the body, right? But in a lot of cases, like, I would say somewhere around, I like 2.8 to maybe even 3.3 grams per kilogram of fat-free mass. That's a good place to be. So even like somewhere around 1.25 to 1.5 grams per pound. If I'm use freedom units for you guys.
Yeah. So thank you for that. So I always say, can you please tell me that in English? Because like, I'm just not sure, But I'm terrible, like, East Coast, West Coast time too. So like, I'm kind of like, you got to really dumb things down for me.
I'm just so used to being overseas using metric system, right? It's now getting harder and harder for me to actually use freedom units.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So then, I mean, I guess, does it seem like, people that are big proponents of a ketogenic diet might actually just be doing more protein leveraging? Because right. I mean, that just makes a lot of sense. So if people aren't familiar, it's like, well, you actually probably have been doing it for a while then. Yeah.
Well, part of the problem with the keto guys is they still think you need a lot of fat, but you don't. Like, if you want therapeutic ketogenic diet, you probably want more fat, because you're wanting your ketones to be slightly high to get the therapeutic effects, whatever the reason you're doing it. But if you're talking about training and talking body composition, then more fat is not really great. Like you want to show some ketones. You're showing like say 0.5 to 1 millimoles on a blood test of BHBs. That's probably the sweet spot. That means you're making some ketones, you're getting those from fat. Most likely you are probably burning off a lot of those ketones, which is why it's not higher. And you have the protein to basically keep you from losing muscle mass. Because a lot of the guys that do the low protein keto, they lose a lot of muscle mass. But they're also probably not training either. And that's the other catalyst. That's the external lever that we need to use, which is tension training, and then upping the protein quite a bit to get the internal lever.
So thinking about the coach that maybe just got that person that is on a GLP-1, or again, I don't even know if that's the correct term. I just know them as GLP-1s. What does that training structure look like for that client now that they have just turned that on?
Okay, so you basically, when you look at tension training, what does that even mean? Okay, so there's a fancy term called mechanotransduction. It's basically, I look at things as like passing information. So you're using some type of external load to contract the muscle under and produce force. That's a piece of mechanical information that's then passed off as the muscle deforms of being lengthened and being shortened. There are structural pieces in the sarcomere that are now deforming, and that deformation process increases the chemical cascade that then upregulates muscle protein synthesis. Right, so it's like,
I'm smiling over here because like Jim Bros are like, I just lift, dude.
Yeah, just lift 8 to 12.
But and again, this is why I love these conversations, because as a coach, right, if you have that bro mentality still, you might not be able to help your clients the way that they need it until, and I'm not saying you got to be a fucking, encyclopedist or anything like that, but having this extra information is only going to help like way more people. And so I love this like real like technical breakdown of it all.
What's funny is the meatheads have had it right for the last 100 years. You just like, you need two things. You need magnitude and you need duration. Magnitude is how much load you have on the bar, and duration is how long do you contract the muscle under that load. And so if we have too much magnitude, like doing a 1 rep max, the duration isn't long enough. Like you're going to work on getting strong 1 to 3 reps. You're working on getting strong, but you're not really going to grow a ton of muscle that way. Then you could do 30 reps too. But the problem is the duration is there, but you just don't have the magnitude. So the point is to look at that magnitude to duration ratio and try to get them lined up. And that 8 to 12 rep range that bodybuilders have done fucking for 100 years seems to be the sweet spot. It's enough magnitude, it's enough duration, it doesn't hurt, it's pumpy, it feels good. People like that. So if you look at the evidence-based guys that go, oh, you can build muscle anywhere.
They always sound like that.
Yeah, they do. They're not tiny. Like, you can build it. And it's like, nobody, cool, you can build muscle at 30 reps. Who the fuck is going to work to proximity to failure at 30 reps? Nobody. It sucks. It's painful. It burns. And in this specific situation where you need to funnel down to minimal effective dose, that stuff's not going to work. It's just going to make you more fatigued in a state where you don't have enough calories. You're already fatigued. So you're better off going into doing maybe 6 to 10 hard sets over the course of a week per body part. And like start at 6, do a couple of warm-up sets, go hard, do 2 exercises per body part, 2 sets, something like that, twice a week. Now you got 8. You're probably pretty good with that. And then if you decide, I think I can do more volume, well, can you do more volume? Sure. Is it productive? Because it doesn't make sense to add more if it's not productive. But what people tend to do is they keep adding more, and they don't realize they've dug a hole they can't climb out of. And 3 or 4 weeks later, they end up crashing. Their sleep goes to shit. Their training drive goes to shit. Their joints ache. They start holding on tons of water, so they look like they're getting fatter. Their mood's messed up.
Getting sick.
They're getting sick. It's all that stuff. It's like, that was an accumulation of those last few weeks of you stupidly raising volume you didn't actually need, But what I do like about this style too is it's the lazy man's way of doing things. So I can, if I'm looking at adaptation, especially fat loss, I can train a lot. I can create a huge deficit by training if I have time and recoverability. I can use nutrition. So I can just go in a massive deficit and just train enough. Or I can use a little bit of both with training and nutrition. Well, logistically, the nutrition makes the most sense, because even though it's psychologically harder than training for a deficit, that's what the GLP drug's for. It's compliance in a syringe.
So then, yeah, getting back to that, like kind of like the original question, like, so if I'm a coach, somebody's on a GLP-1, they're probably, again, this could be anybody, but let's just assume that somebody that needs to lose a lot of weight, they probably can't auto-regulate their workouts and stuff. So as a coach, what do you need to be paying attention to?
Well, as far as
like, okay, so person's on GLP-1, their appetite's been suppressed. They're not eating enough energy for the first time in a long time.
Yeah.
And then you're asking them to put out more energy that they could potentially have been not doing for a very long time. But again, we don't want to lose muscle. We don't want them to melt, basically, right? We want them to look and feel good. Sure. So what are some of the things they need to be paying attention to?
Yeah. Okay. So, well, the first thing is paying attention to the programming, because it starts with the coach. What you're programming, what you're planning for them has to make sense. So it's like, find an entry point. That entry point should be at the minimal effect of whatever. Now we look, are they getting stronger? Or are they getting weaker? If they're getting weaker, it's too low calories or it's too much volume. Make your adjustments. Either add more calories or reduce training volume. If nothing's happening, but they're not getting worse, well, maybe they do need another set or two per week. Let's add that and see what happens. So it's always about paying attention. And that's another thing that coaches have a really hard time with. Like, they just give recommendations to do stuff, but they don't sit and think about, okay, what did I see happening over the last week, the last 4 weeks? Are we moving in the right direction, or do I need to get ahead of something? Because people will always have a check engine light that comes on before the car falls apart. But the coach has to pay attention that that's happening. Are they sleeping well? A lot of people have technology now. What's their sleep scores? What's their HRV? Is their heart rate going up? Heart rate's a really good indicator. If it's moved up five beats per minute, then we probably need to think that it's moving towards a position of overreaching, which is good. That's what we want. But it's also trending in a position where we're going to have to pull back at some point. So we need to plan to pull back soon, just not too early. So it can be very confusing, because the whole point is to make somebody deteriorate a little bit and then pull them out of it, and then they supercompensate. So it's a tricky thing of figuring out where that bottom point is, where we're right on the line, we're towing the line, let's pull back and recover, and then let's go again, versus letting somebody go in an extra week and then now we've got 3 weeks where we have to pull out of this.
Hey guys, Ali Gilbert here. I hope you're enjoying all the content from the Silverback Summit. Real quick, just wanted to let you know I have my own podcast coming. So stay tuned for the Ali Gilbert podcast, Resurrected.
So with kind of that same like thought in mind, right? If somebody gets pushed a little bit too far and we push them over the edge and then they're just like gone forever, like how do you retain clients better by pushing them, but also just figuring out like fuck, the last time I did that, I lost that person, I lost that testimonial, I lost potentially that person's whole family and friend group, right? Because it's more than just the one person, right? Again, how do we know how much to push?
Yeah. Well, I think communication with the client. Like, how are you feeling? What's a subjective? Maybe come up with a good subjective scoring system plus objective scoring system, because basically all we just said was objective markers. Like, I can get a sleep score off a watch. I can get HRV. I can get heart rate. I can get the blood pressure. Then we look at the subjective scoring of like a weekly chat or a daily chat. Like, how did you feel? Were you motivated to go in the gym? Okay. Are you feeling rested all day? Are you starting to get lulls during the day? Are your joints hurting? I can also use objective markers of looking at their sets and reps and seeing if the reps are going up, if the loads are going up. There's a lot of different things we can look at, but I think it also depends too, and this is going to sound totally misogynistic, but I don't give a shit. There is a very big difference between men and women of how they communicate and what they value and what makes sense to them. And men, it's usually numbers and like logical stuff. And women, it's more like emotional, feely stuff. So the objective data for men is quite a bit more important, and the subjective data for women is quite a bit more important.
Got it. No, I mean, that makes sense. I don't think anybody would argue with that. Like, it makes a lot of sense. So moving on to other, aspects of HRT and that sort of thing. How do you know when to start looking into that realm and start pulling more levers than again, in my opinion, sure, go get some sunlight, do all these other things, but I really, really, no pun intended, want to move the needle. Yeah. So when do I pull those levers for a client? Or sorry, maybe not for a client, but again, a client maybe comes to me and they want to pull those levers. How do I know when it's okay to do so?
To pull like the TRT lever?
Yeah. That's really the big one, right?
And refer them to somebody?
Yeah.
I try to get everybody to if they will, but I also I always tell guys, look, it's I've done TRT, I'm on TRT, I've done steroids, obviously. Like I've always been transparent about that. I mean, you're not. At one point, I was 270 pounds, and I was like 17% body fat, and I was deadlifting like 730 and squatting 700.
Let's bring that guy back.
You don't know. I'm too old for that now. That was 20 years ago. That's like, so I'm a big fan, and I'm a big fan of like personal responsibility, ownership, and YOLO. Like, if you want to do this shit, cool. Like, it's your body, it's your choice, right? We always say that about women and abortions and stuff, but men should have that option too. It's my body, my choice. If I want to jack myself full of trend and I don't hurt anybody, then except myself, fuck it. But I'm also a proponent of like less is always more. So if guys come to me and they go, hey, do you think I should get on? Like, a lot of my guys are in their mid 30s, 40s, 50s. And they're working 80, 90 hours a week. Same type of client that these physicians would have, except mine are coaches. So they might have a staff of 10 or 13 people. They're sleeping 5 hours a night. I already know your testosterone is going to be low. Let's just go get it tested. And if it is, like, go to a private lab. And then if it is, then we'll find a physician for you, through Silverback. Or Dave is a good advocate for me in Australia. I've sent a lot of clients to Primal. And then some of the guys in the UK, Ross, those guys sent people to them as well. But I think every guy these days in their 30s should at least go get their panel done, because I think they're going to be real fucking surprised. Like, I've been on TRT since 36, and I don't know, mine wouldn't have been lifestyle in the way that a sedentary population. Mine would have been lifestyle as I was a former competitor in strongman and powerlifting and bodybuilding. And there's only so many times you can push your body to those extremes before shit doesn't want to come back on. And so, I'm a big proponent of that, especially if you get guys who they're doing everything right, and they're just so slow of their results. It's like, all right, let's just go get comprehensive labs and just see if there's some type of problem where we can get some external help from a physician, and everything's going to be way better. And I've not had a single person get mad about getting on TRT. They're always like, oh my God, I should have listened to you 4 years ago. And I'm like, I know.
Yeah. No, I've heard the stories where, like, I just want to try it out, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, as soon as you turn that lever, like, you're going to be so happy that you're going to be upset that you didn't do it sooner.
I have a client. He actually works for me. He's in his mid 50s. And I've told him, like, for years, I'm like, you're just like, you have such a hard time. You're like a little frail ectomorphic dude. He looks phenomenal, shredded, but he just can't put on muscle. Like, you just need to go, let's just get your hormonal panel. So he goes, and everything on his labs looks good. I'm like, yeah, but looking good on your labs, that may not be good for you. You might have been way higher than that when you were younger. So we've got to find someone who doesn't just look at the numbers, but also looks at your symptoms. Got them all hooked up. He's put on, oh my God. He was like, do I have to take it forever? I'm like, you don't have to, but you're going to want to.
Right.
Because once you get on it, like, there's no going back. There's no going back.
Yeah. And that's funny, because, like, I always mention, like, I wish I got my labs done when I was like 18, like, just to see, like, okay, well, where did I start? And then again, like, every like 5 or so years after that, because you're right. My labs today might come back at 450 or something, but they were, at 1,000. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then somebody's going to say, like, well, 450, you're doing fine or whatever. When it comes to interpretation, why does it seem like anybody can look at labs, but not anybody can give you a legit answer on whether or not, like, hey, you should probably explore these other things?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you have to take labs for what they are. They're not a measurement of optimal levels. They're a measurement of sick people. When's the last time you went to the doctor and said, hey, I feel great, can we run some labs?
Of course, yeah. Yeah.
Sick people go to the doctor. So it's in those, every lab has different values. They're somewhat different based on their averages of what they've seen, and then the government will change guidelines at some points. But like, I was lucky that I did get labs done when I was younger, and I was way above the high level even before I ever took anything. So like, when I go to the doctor and he sees that mine's like a 368, and he's like, well, that's pretty low. It's not under 345. I'm like, yeah, but mine was like 1,400 when I was at 20, and I hadn't touched a thing. It was like, wow. But the government tells them what they can and can't do. But if they work on symptoms too, now they have another lever. They can go, well, you can't get an erection. You're not interested in sex. You're losing muscle. Okay, this is a bad thing. So now I can actually justify that this may not be the right level for you. So let's put you on stuff.
Yeah. So again, kind of bringing it back to Silverback Summit. What I love is being around coaches like you, because like, again, your approach, your experiences and how well you coach is undeniable. The only way to get in close proximity to you is if you are here in this room right now. And right now you're watching, so you're not here. So check out the links in the description and make sure you don't miss the next one. But for yourself, and I believe I'm getting this correct, but you actually learned from Charles Poliquin.
Yeah.
So what are some of the big things that you took from, I mean, again, talk about somebody that's undeniable. I think everybody in this, everybody watching, everybody in this building would put him as the GOAT. So what are some of the biggest takeaways you've taken from Charles Poliquin?
Oh man,
I know it's really hard, but
I had a guy ask me this a few weeks ago on a podcast, and I'm like, God, where do you fucking start?
Yeah.
Because Charles was just full of information. It was ridiculous. So I was a student of his, and then I worked for him for a long time. And then when he left Poliquin Group, I went on full time to kind of fill in like what he was doing. Right. And then all the shit hit the fan. That's a whole other drama story. But yeah, with him, the way I got onto him is it was in the early 90s, and it was Muscle Media 2000 or whatever. Yeah. When they were still hardcore and they hadn't sold out. And he was in there talking about all kinds of shit. And you had Charles Staley and you had Paul Chek and all this crazy shit and steroid talk and all that. And I started reading his stuff in there. And then in 1992, we got the internet. I was 14. So then I was able to search more stuff from him. And I'm like, this all makes sense.
wow.
And I was a fan of physical culture history. And I'm like, okay, this is what Charles does. He finds all of these methods that other people came out with, and he figures out a way to like categorize them of when they're appropriate to do and how to periodize them in the structured format. So I started training like he was writing about, and I was like, holy shit, I'm getting really strong and I'm getting really big. It all worked. So that's why I gravitated towards him and made him my mentor and ended up working for him. But a lot of his was, looking at like the success leaves clues. That's a big one. And I think that's a big one because in the fitness industry, you have this, the bro scientists versus the evidence-based guys. And the evidence-based guys, they're all imploding now because they're pretty much full of shit, right? Because their only evidence has to do with research-based stuff, like sterile research stuff with 12 limitations, low subjects, low study time. But then someone like me who's been training for over 3 decades, who's training other people for 3 decades, it's like I see this stuff that works that the research hasn't caught up to yet. So it's like, if I see that something's working in my clients, or I see that somebody else is doing something that's working, that's enough clue for me to use that, despite research maybe saying it doesn't work for whatever reason, because exercise science research is not that great anyways.
Is there room though to kind of distill and maybe just take in some of that information though, right? Like,
yeah,
again, where success leaves clues. Well, maybe that study or whatever did have a successful outcome. Maybe we don't take it for everything it's trying to sell us, but is there room for both?
Yeah, sure. There's somewhere in the middle. It's like they say, there's 3 sides to every story, my side, your side, and somewhere in the middle lies the truth. So it's the same thing with this. It's like guys under the bar and guys in the lab. Somewhere in the middle lies the truth, and they're both beneficial. So we can't count any of them out. We have to be like Switzerland and kind of sit in the middle and take what works, But like he was big into programming. Programming was everything. Like coaching's one thing. A lot of people can coach, and not everybody can program, because programming takes a lot of thought time and it takes a lot of research. So that's the reason why I got into studying physiology, biology, biochemistry, and all that, is because he was a big believer in, if you're going to put something in a workout or you're going to put something in nutrition, you need to know what is the consequence, positive and negative, for that, and how it links up with everything else. And if you don't know the physiology of it, then you're just basically shitting in your hands and hoping something sticks.
You can totally demolish the hell out of this question, but in regards to that, so like, again, we're saying there's a little bit of room for the science-based stuff to, again, but the answer somewhere in the middle. AI is getting super popular. Everybody's talking about like you're gonna have to implement AI in some way, shape, or form. Early on, people were kind of freaked out because you can go to ChatGPT and like, hey, this is the equipment I have. Give me a workout program that's gonna do X, Y, and Z. For coaches, is there room for AI as well? thinking about what you just said, right? Like it's going to take that human to human interaction to really program like to the best of that client's needs.
Yeah.
But can they lean on AI a little bit to maybe help and sort of, what I'll say is like impact more people, right? Because I know if you're a coach, like you really genuinely want to help people. Is this a tool that we can use to help more people?
Yeah, if you're not using AI, you're a fucking idiot. I mean, you really are. And I was absolutely really opposed to it at first because I'm like, this is going to create a situation where dumbass trainers who don't know what they're doing could just spit something out and then give it to somebody, but they don't know if it's right or not. Because AI doesn't get everything right. And you have to train your AI. So you have to figure out how like I've trained my AI to think like me, and I've trained my AI to argue with me when I'm full of shit. So I'll run like bits of information by it and I'll have arguments with it. And then I'm like, man, maybe I was wrong, or, oh, fuck. Okay. So maybe I was right, but I think it's a whole nother skill that people have to develop. And going forward, there's going to be inherent need to get more on the service side of the touchy feely shit, and the coaching is going to become more important because AI is getting, if you know how to talk to it, it's spitting out some really good fucking programs. Like I still do everything by hand, but I have played around with, hey, I need you to do this in the style of this coach for this thing and sequence the exercises in this order, and it spits something out. I'm like, that's pretty fucking good. That's pretty close to what I would actually do.
Yeah.
So it's a good way to speed up your process.
Got it. Okay. And so you said you trained your AI. Do you have an actual like AI platform that I could go to and ask questions and then?
No, I haven't built one yet for outside. So what I've done, because I've just started this, I started a few months ago.
Okay.
But it is, you start a project in ChatGPT, you go in there and how do I want it to talk to me? How do I want it to think? You just give it a personality. And then you go. Every project has a completely different personality and the way I want it to talk to me and the way I want it to assess research and that type of thing. But it's made my life so much easier, especially when I'm doing lectures.
Oh, yeah. Oh, dude. You mentioned ADHD. Like when I was packing for all this shit, I just like rambled for like 30 minutes and then it like put together equipment lists for me. I was like, oh, fuck, I never would have done that. But thank you. And so now I can go through and do it.
So it's fantastic. I'll write notes of what I want to talk about. I'll write notes and I'll go, hey, can you sequence this in a way that flows nicely? Yeah. And it'll go the outline. I'm like, sweet. Is there anything else you can think of that I haven't thought of? It'll add stuff. And that's the only problem with me is I always over prepare. So I had like 80 slides. I'm like, I can't speak in 80 slides in 30 minutes. So then I spend all day like cutting.
Yeah.
I
mean, I guess that is the problem that you would rather have, right? Than like, fuck, I need more stuff. Yeah. So again, if a coach isn't here today, they screwed up. What's some way that they can find you, or like, how can I learn from Luke? Because obviously you know what the hell you're talking about. I want to be a better coach. How do I do so?
Well, we can go our really horrible website, which my December, January plan is to learn how to use AI to build a new website.
Yeah.
Because we haven't changed ours, I think, since the day we started. So it's like super shit. But like you go in there and there's online courses we do. We've got foundational nutrition. We have a hypertension course that tells trainers exactly what you shouldn't, most importantly, what you shouldn't do with people who have hypertension. Even going down the supplements and drugs and drug interactions and how to train them and all that. I think we've got online training stuff on there. We've got tons of stuff on there. Obviously, Instagram, we mainly do stuff through there. I can't do the TikTok. I'm too old. I'm almost 50. I can't do the TikTok thing.
Yeah, fuck TikTok, dude.
But my wife takes care of all that anyways. But Instagram is musclenerds_education. So people can go there and find out like what we do.
And then the shitty website.
The shitty website. Yeah. Sorry. There's my Vyvanse hasn't kicked in yet. It's musclenerds.net. Musclenerds.net.
Yeah. So we'll definitely link everything in the description. Excuse me. Thank you guys so much for checking out this one. Again, if you're not here, completely missing out, but you can catch the next one. Links for that in the description as well. Luke, thank you so much, man. That was a lot of fun. I learned a shit ton, so I'm sure everybody else did. Really appreciate your time. Yeah, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.